tell me a little bit about what are the things that, in 2.0 that you developed, you grew, you changed, you had to make it better and bigger, and what was some of that stuff?
Yeah, cool. So, and just a reminder, Inspire 2.0 was going from, and I'm talking in revenue because I think that's kind of the easiest thing to understand, but we went from 426 grand in turnover to around about the 1.5 mil in that Inspire 2.0 section. And I guess some of the key things we did, we did a course, like a professional development course together, the business partner and I, and we there were some key things we created from that. So one of them was really developing our product. So we've got this It's All Sorted tax and accounting subscription that was sort of born in that era. It was basically putting a name on what we were doing previously, and making sure we were communicating what it included and what it didn't really well to businesses. We also, priced it appropriately. But I think beforehand I was giving it away too cheap. And again, I think as business owners, our mindset grows over time. Maybe at the start we felt a little bit like we needed to price it so that it was sort of people could afford it or buy it, but really we needed to think of the value it provided to clients, and that was a pretty cool realization. So getting our product right, also our sales process. So I'd done a bit of work on that in Inspire 1.0, but I think we doubled down and really nailed the sales process and what that looked like. So people started paying for the sales process, and we call that the look under the hood. Or a second opinion on your tax. That came with a guarantee that if we couldn't find you, it was priced at $500 at the time, but if we couldn't find you $500 in tax savings, we'd actually give you the $500 back. We actually probably couldn't give you that much value, at least from a tax saving perspective. Again, the sales process we developed. We also sort of started to really consider partnerships really well. So, referrals with financial planners and mortgage brokers. Like, again, these are things we started in 1.0, or I started in 1.0, but we doubled down again in Inspire 2.0 to really solidify what we had in place here. And also, this is where we had a really big focus on establishing team, and why, we were talking earlier about the big fluctuations is because, at the time we were just trying to see what worked. Like, do we hire an events coordinator? And at the time we had a cafe manager as well.
That's right.
Another long story, but we had Inspire Cafe down the bottom in the tenancy we were in. So establishing our team and what our process was with that. And I don't think we really got clear on this until Inspire 3.0, at least what would be working from a scale perspective. But Inspire 2.0 was also when I started transitioning from me being the seller, the deliverer, the reviewer, to then involving the next, call it the next generation, or the next run of seniority down. So Riz, you're one of the people. Jake, Jake.
Shout out to Jake.
Yeah. But I guess the two of you were the people I was starting to train to, I guess, become an advisor in the way I was doing that. So selling and delivering work to clients. And there was a lot of time spent in Inspire 2.0 on that thing as well.
Yeah. And I mean, sharing my own experience during that time, where I distinctly remember we were on that away in Sydney for that professional development course, and we were doing all that. And I distinctly remember that I think that was the first, was it the first month or first quarter where you didn't deliver, quote unquote, or bring in any of those sales for that month. I can't remember exactly, but it might be that month. And I remember distinctively going, whoa, this is cool. Like there's, in terms of process and systems and things that we've built, you were able to kind of, with a lot of trust, of course, and obviously control systems in place to make sure it all works out well for the client. But there was a lot that was built during that time that honestly, from my side, from my end of it, was, wow, as a team member, I was like, oh, I really can step into my own here. I can really step into a place where I can be a true advisor, not just kind of, filling out boxes and ticking things off, but really just delivering stuff for clients on a very meaningful level. And the thing that, I find that was quite interesting as well. During this time, I can't remember who said this, man, but do you remember someone said to you and you repeated it to the team? He said, yeah, you're doing all this great stuff for the clients at the front end of it. And then what? And then what are you delivering after that? What are you delivering year on year after that? And I remember that was something that we were cracking our heads on, trying to develop the product, the ecosystem around it, the partnerships. What can we deliver than just the cool stuff that we're doing, which is already cool. Yep. We're saving quite a lot of tax. We're minimizing tax. We're creating profits. But what else? What can we provide even more enduring value to our clients? And I distinctly remember 2.0 being like a pressure cooker of ideas, of just building the what we find now as the foundation of Inspire. It created this kind of cookbook of what the basics of how to run a Inspire in that 2.0 period, which was really cool time for me personally. It was a lot of growth personally as well.
Absolutely. And yeah, like I kind of relate to what you said about the ideas. It was a lot of ideas, a lot of trial and error. It was also expensive trial and error. Potentially this is part of the reason why it started heading downhill. But I remember even we were doing workshops in Brisbane, Sydney, and Melbourne to try to acquire new clients. We did successfully acquire new clients, but I think the question we didn't ask ourselves is at what cost? Like, we were spending thousands of dollars on travel. We were spending literally I think $3,000 roughly per workshop that we hosted in Brisbane, $3,000 in Sydney, $3,000 in Melbourne. We were doing these, I think, monthly or every second month. So a huge bill in Facebook ads at the time, which was a handful of people in the room, and maybe one person was actually turning into a client. So I think at the time, again, it was a lot of ideas and what we were trying to get working, but there was some severe things that weren't working quite as we had intended or as well as we could have.
And I think it's that, when you have a list of ideas you just want to implement, you're really testing and R&Ding what actually works best and refining it and finding, after time you're going, oh, don't do that again. That doesn't return as much ROI as we thought it would, but you had to try. And I think that the thing that was also prominent at the time was I remember, because the team had a certain level of autonomy, you could try those things as well at the time. And there was enough space to also build some of the new stuff that was, what eventually became 3.0. And I guess, the one thing I remember in that time, then, that was when you had your first child as well. And during that period, we think about business owners and their journey and how personal life comes into play as well. Is there anything you want to add to that and how that might have thrown things into the mix as well?
Yeah. So yeah, I think in 2019, which would have been at the start of that, which was probably the countdown to the final 12 months in Inspire 2.0, we had a beautiful baby Rose. It was definitely a challenging time going from having no kids to one child. The pressure it puts on a relationship and that sort of thing, on your own personal time and energy. So yeah, I guess part of what I did in that 2019 year was reprioritize. So I think that's when I started doing a couple of days of work from home. Instead of being 5 days full time in the office, working crazy hours back then. I just remember it was just insane. And I think that's where I sort of reduced it to maybe around a full time equivalent of sort of 40 hours, maybe a bit more than that, because I was working most weekends at least for a few hours. And it was pretty crap. Like, to
Mm.
be honest, the other thing as well, like I think in Inspire 1.0, I was going backwards most of the time, or just breaking even. Inspire 2.0 was sort of breaking even to then at times hemorrhaging cash. It was incredible, but again, I think most of the time it was sort of just breaking even. So when you sort of gone through 5 or 6 years of just scraping through, you've got low sustained like energy levels, and you're working weekends, and you've got a baby that you want to spend some time with, and a wife, and literally you're earning less than most of the accountants who are working in your firm because of all the costs of running the business, and I think again those expenses we had in Inspire 2.0 that weren't quite producing the results we need. We had 2 business partners. One of them was not doing any client hours, so to speak. My business partner was responsible for, at the time, sales and marketing. And again, that wasn't churning enough to produce the stress or the load that the business partner salary and also the marketing expenses that we were paying at the time. It wasn't covering that. So again, business stress, home stress, and also, me and my business partner at the time, our relationship was sort of drifting apart. I have a feeling that there was certain things he wanted to go and do and that sort of thing, and it just wasn't aligned with at least where the firm was at the time. So yeah, it came to a rather abrupt end.
Yeah. And I promise there's some good stories coming up as well. And this is kind of just the journey of like taking, we're excited, we're starting a new business, and let's try all these ideas, business partners or even external partners, many things, traveling all across the country, adding family and stuff like that as well.
I might just say as well, like on the outside, if you looked at Inspire over those years, and some of you listening might have known it, it looked amazing from the outside, but I guess that's the interesting thing. It gave no context to what's actually happening inside and what's going on there. So yeah,
of course, and I think it's brave of you to share, but again, it's stuff that's real, and the stuff that has I've taken my own personal learnings out of those times as well, and the fact that you're willing to share, Ben, your personal learnings here. It's a really cool space to be, and I'm really looking forward to other episodes where we get to learn this from other business owners and accountants as well that might have gone through crazier stuff. Who knows? It could, the stories that we have is only relative to us, right? And it's just learning from that is super valuable, I reckon.
Yep.
And in terms of we got 2.0, we've got all this stuff happening, and you and your business partner, went separate ways. We got a bust up in between. Tell me about 3.0. How did you, first of all, what made you not just, hey man, I've got a kid, thanks very much, let's just here put it on a listing and just get it out? Because 3.0 was something different. It was a whole different animal at that point.
Yep. And to be really honest, I think there was something that was sort of slowly dying inside of me throughout, especially Inspire 2.0. There was a lack of trust in my own self, so I wasn't backing myself as much as where I was in Inspire 1.0 and at the start of 2 towards the end of it. I didn't have that belief, and I know this is fuzzy, wooey, whatever, but like this is truth. And so when the how do I term this, when we broke free of the chains in Inspire 3.0, it took me a few weeks to realize, but I actually needed to back myself like I did in those early days again, when I was 23-year-old Ben with a handful of clients, and this age thing against me. Like, I didn't have age necessarily at the time. I was in my early 30s in Inspire 3.0, but yeah, I'd gone through a fair few years of just not having that sort of trust in myself, or speaking from authenticity. And I think maybe that is the key, is that wherever we're not being authentic in ourselves, then that's where you're going to get problems. So, yeah, I also slowly realized that I didn't have a business partner to bounce ideas off or that sort of thing. So I really needed to back myself with, what I say or what I think needs to be well thought through. And I need to sort of back myself. And, we're sitting in April 2020. So all the lockdowns have just started kicking off. We've again, the team's dealing with the fallout of what's happened previously with, the business partner fallout and that sort of thing. So it's not really a inspiring moment in history. But what we did in response to COVID, I think, and also in response to what was going on internally at the time, was just me being authentic. So, I'd held back on sharing all the drama with the team. But again, on the 1st of April, 2020, I distinctly remember, having a really confronting chat with the team about what I essentially tried to make work with old mate, but couldn't, and as a result, he was booted. That was tough, and the team were super supportive, which was great. A little bit confused and shocked, but again, we all rallied around each other. We had to support each other for that stuff, but we also had COVID and lockdowns and all that sort of stuff to also deal with. Working from home, which, I feel like as a firm, we were pretty tech savvy from pretty much day one. So we picked up our laptops and started working from home the next day. So it wasn't too crazy at all. But Inspire 3.0 is when we basically doubled the firm in terms of revenue and team. 1.5 million in turnover to 3 in just over 2 years, which I'll sit here now and go, geez, I didn't see that coming.
Pinch yourself a little bit. Let's go, whoa, this is the difference in the last few years, and those 2 years is monumental. And I feel it and see it every day too.
Yeah. And, we talk about revenue, and something I didn't talk too much about was actually like hours of input. I mentioned that there were crazy hours in the first few years, but Inspire 3.0, the first 6 months were insane. So that was all the JobKeeper crap, the cash flow boost. We were doing so many webinars to keep our clients up to date. Another key point of what we did differently, which I feel really helped us, was doing those webinars. But yeah, the first 6 to 9 months, the whole year of 2020 was just a rush. But then after that point,
and before you go on there, and I don't remember as well, something that happened that was quite significant was we all went back to, why everyone joined accounting, why everyone was here, because our clients needed us at that time. There was no time to sit down and lick our wounds. It was, yes, we went through some of the most turbulent times Inspire's ever been to, and the pandemic in front knocking at our door right now. But it was like, hey, there's no time, dude. Like, we just got to stand up and be the rock which our clients can cling on to during this whirlwind of a time, which is the pandemic. And I remember stepping up, and you and the whole team, everyone just stepped up so hard. And that's when we realized how it's so important to just be so authentic to why we're here, why are we doing this, and it just comes naturally at that point, because we just went, there's no time for all this nonsense. Just got to help our clients. And that's where a lot of the 3.0 started as well. And yeah, you're kind of talking to what happened after that.
That's it. Got my mojo back. Maybe 9 months, but no, it did come back even at the within weeks. And that's, I think, the what led on as a result. But and I guess one of the other key milestones for me was actually getting some balance back in my week. Again, mostly 2021 and this year we're in 2022 towards the tail end. That's where I've had some really fantastic balance, which I think if you didn't see the first few years of Inspire and you looked at it now, you go, wow, that's awesome. But I think within context, I'm probably making up for the 80-hour weeks that I did for the first few. But again, and the way I look at it is in 2021 and onwards, I've been doing on average working school hours each week, which has been fantastic. And even to the point where it roughly is about 9 till 3 most days. But that's for the demands of the kids.
Which is really cool as well. It gave you enough time to go from, a 3-person family to, now we have almost a Brady Bunch. That's quite a bit of you. So it gave you time back to invest back into your family, and have more kids and spend more time as well.
Yeah, it's almost like we doubled revenue, doubled the team, but halved the hours of input. I was like, what is going on? This is weird. But again, it's the vision I had back then is to not be working 80-hour weeks and to actually be earning a salary, so to speak, plus profits from the business. And all of this was coming true. It was weird. And maybe some of those key things that we did in Inspire 3.0 that sort of resulted in this is one of the things was actually re-looking at our team structure. I remember a really heavy chat you and I had, and I felt like there's a video going around of a lady with a nail in her head, and she's like, "That's not the problem," and you were like saying there's a nail in your head to me. What it was, hey, the team need some direction. And I was responding, Riz, we know what to do. We wake up, we do the tax returns and the financials and the tax planning, and we go to bed. Like, we what do you want? It's the nail, there's no nail. And you're like, no, hang on, the team need direction. And where we sort of got to is the team need a plan for what the firm looks like over the next few years, but also what their roles might look like over the next few years. I think through that, again, like it was a really confusing time for me, but the nail was right there. Thanks. Was this, well, we went from a very flat structure, which we carried from Inspire 1.0 to 2.0 to now we've got these 3 diamond teams. That's what we're looking to grow. And so, they're 3 diamond teams of 1, call it partner or client manager, 3 senior accountants under that. Each of those seniors with their own junior, and then 1 CSC or admin to run that pod or that team, and to build 3 of those diamonds. So that's kind of the plan we came up to for Inspire 3.0. And we went from having 1 of those diamonds, which was me as the partner or client manager, 3 of my seniors, 3 juniors, and 1 admin, to then sort of building out those where Riz, Sakshi, and Gulshan at the time all stepped up into that partner/client manager diamond role at top. And over the last few years, we've been building out that diamond for each of them. And so, that was kind of the plan we came up with. We have got most of that plan implemented now. So what I say by that is each of those diamonds has 8 people in it. And I think we've got pretty much 1 complete, most of the second one, and just under half of the third one complete. But the goal of Inspire 3.0 and 4.0 is to complete that whole picture. So,
and I remember with that chat as well, what's interesting was we didn't dive into straight away how much revenue or how many client numbers we wanted. It really started with the people, and investing the time and ideas in how can we get the most out of the people that we have, and building a vision forward that carries them along with the journey as well. And for it to sustain, it took a while for it to kind of hit our heads to go, oh yeah, if we keep doing this, we build the people, the clients get happy, they get more better service, they get more capacity from our team, and we can deliver even higher level advice and more proactive advice. It's a self-fulfilling thing, and it was interesting to see that it's it started with the people and investing the time and energy. And there's some challenges now that we're facing that's different to that, but it's always around that the ethos of like, hey, how do we take care of our people?
Yeah.
Cool. And was there anything else outside of that? The diamond teams that we've been building on.
Yeah, and I think this idea started in Inspire 2.0, and almost like we sort of doubled down on it in 3.0, which was to build a leadership team. Again, at one stage, I think we had 9 people at the start of Inspire 3.0, and 7 out of the 9 were in the leadership team. So I find that quite amusing. But what happened is very quickly we'd grown our team to be able to support the new clients we brought in. And I think we brought like 30 something clients in like 4 months. One of those quarters, it was crazy.
That's crazy.
So yeah, we needed new team members to be able to sustain that growth. But the leadership team, again, that we've modeled our leadership team and our processes off a book and a methodology called Traction. We implement EOS, or Entrepreneurial Operating System, in the business. I had heard some crazy stories in the past of fast growth, but this is actually one of those things that has really significantly helped. And we had leaders who might not have necessarily considered themselves leaders at the time they started, but that's a skill that I feel you develop and you have to practice to get better at it. And we've got a very impressive leadership team who've got us through some interesting challenges and times, but also led through some extremely rewarding times too, and ability to fix them.
And we have that meeting every Monday, our leadership meeting every Monday, and it's made up of not just accountants. That's what I like about it as well. We've got people from across the board to have input over the issues over the firm, and you're usually looking at a problem only in one kind of perspective or one angle. When you have a mix of people like that, you can solve crazy complex problems by just putting your heads together. And that EOS attraction tool has made it very easy for us to systemize problem solving in a very efficient manner in a space of an hour and a half weekly. And we're solving problems that might take months for some maybe firms or businesses, just because we don't have the system or the input of other people. And that's the other thing as well. When you have a leadership team, you have the ability to draw on people's expertise and perspectives that you might not see as well. I love those meetings, and we have lunches as well, which is nice.
That's
awesome. Yeah.
That's right. By 4.0. Cool.
Yeah, that's it. We're there. We're in the present day now, Ben. Tell me about what made it Inspire 4.0 in your head, and what's kind of in the future. What are we working on right now?
Yeah, cool. So we're about 3 or 4 months into Inspire 4.0 at the moment, and I felt like, I guess the biggest thing is we had a lot of growing up. I feel I don't know of a better word to use than sort of growing up, but we were kind of bursting at the seams of our physical space, our office, which was actually downstairs from where we are right now. We doubled our team in that time, and I thought we would have heaps of room to expand, but that was a lot quicker than I thought, which was a great problem. So we needed a new space. This is a beautiful space we're in, a lot more natural light. We've had I think we've hired 3 more people since we've been here, and we've already used up our spare desks. Now we have to kind of jig things around again, but we do have more offices that people can take in. Anyway, we've got a beautiful, big, bright happy space where we can kind of again grow into and mature. But I feel like our journey from in Inspire 4.0 is that leveling up. So right now we're also re-looking at our tech stack. So we're in the process of that and maximizing our client experience. So again, they're kind of work in progresses. And we always thought we did a great job in that, but I feel like again we've got some room to improve on the client experience side of things. What else? We've also got our next rung. So kind of like the transition in Inspire 2.0, Inspire 3.0, where it was kind of me as the partner manager, getting the senior accountants to level up. Now we've got the next rung down. So instead of having the 3 key account managers or partners, we've got the next 3 down in each of their teams. So we've got now 9 people on board. Additions. So our next rung of senior accountants, which is pretty sensational in terms of the amount of leverage I feel we will have soon from a sales capacity as well. Now, when you've got people moving up, the thing to be careful of is your capacity for delivery, not just the selling side of things. So again, that's where the hiring is coming in to help. Where we've got our next rung of juniors coming in.
Yeah, and at the time of recording right now, I think a lot of accounting firms, not just accounting firms, a lot of businesses are looking for people, and the market itself is, it's a strange time where it's hard to find accountants, and usually it was fairly easy, or there was the supply was kind of even, or maybe a little bit to the employers market. It's interesting when you see challenges where you're trying to grow, and you're trying to grow through people and developing people and their skills and their knowledge, and having that constraint of supply, it really changes. You really have to get creative on how you overcome some of those challenges. So we've developed quite a bit of stuff around not just training people, but around retention, around keeping the happiness up, and keeping the knowledge and the skills up, things that, not saying that it wasn't important before, but it's something that is required for that next level as well. It's really required. It's not a nice to have anymore. It's you need to have this. If you don't have this, you're going to lose people. You're not going to grow. People are going to be unhappy. There's so many things that just comes with it. And yeah, again, the ethos of the, taking care of the people and our team and everyone around us really, really, really pays its own dividends as well. Yeah. And I might plug this for you, Ben, because you haven't said it, but you recently launched your book as well. Congratulations.
Thank you. And yeah, something I've been working on for the last probably close to 6 months now is writing and publishing the book Wealth for Life. There's actually quite a few different books, and maybe I'll sort of paint the picture of what the future looks like. But for me, I've stepped pretty much completely out of client delivery, apart from the handful of the clients close to my heart who, or the bigger projects and that sort of thing, where my assistance might be quite helpful. But I'm kind of giving that space to our partners and senior managers at the moment to step into that client facing completely. So that's a great chance for me to step back a bit, even maybe more than I have already, to continue developing our leaders in the business. So from a leadership skills perspective, and also starting to really do some cool marketing things, like write some more books. And I've got some ideas. Yes, we've done Wealth for Life so far. I've got it right beside me here, but I'd love to write a book talking all about the, I guess maybe slightly more boring, but still cool in its own way, all around the tax side of things, and how we can make sure as business owners we pay just the right amount of tax and not a cent more. Another one I'm keen to write for our clients is also around total financial control and I guess understanding their numbers to drive more profit and get a handle on cash flow. So they're kind of my projects that the big ones I'm working on. That's kind of the key inspiry things.
And
Just
and we're on a non-inspire podcast right now. Well, not really, but we are. And this is another big project you're working on right now. Tell us a little bit about where you're going with this HPA thing.
Yeah, so HPA, or high performance accountants. So this is kind of my seeing this vision of what I had, 10 years ago, where I was helping other accounting firms with their tech stuff. But this is helping other accounting firms through these different challenges that I've gone through, whether they're sort of stuck at a revenue plateau and they've been there for a couple of years, or whether they're struggling with their team and how they manage that, or the makeup of the team, or even right back to the tech, like what tech are you using and how is that being leveraged to make sure our processes are happening, or client experience and what that looks like. Even sales, like we've done loads of training and tried to implement as much as we can of world-class sales processes and training. So we want to make sure that what I enjoy is seeing other people sort of flourish and do well, whether that's inside the firm, or what I'm looking to do is help other accounting firm owners do the same thing. So yeah, I guess what it involves is sharing knowledge and content, coaching and accountability around helping people grow a high performance accounting firm. It's pretty special.
That's really exciting, and it's exciting to hear you're working on yet another project as well. And I was really, if I could say so, I was really proud to see you launching your Wealth for Life book, and I knew how dear that was to you, that topic. You had some personal, and that's a whole other podcast, but you had some personal experiences within Wealth for Life, and you really turned that into a book. And I'm really excited if it's anything like the Wealth for Life stuff. Yeah, I'm really excited to see this HBA stuff really launch, and hopefully we can help some like-minded people, like-minded accountants, business owners, partners, whatever you want to call it, to really get the most out of their accounting firms, and really turn it around. If it's you're sitting there going, oh man, I'm about to hand the keys in here, like there's actually some really cool stuff that can still happen when you have an accounting firm. And I'm really excited to see you share your journey and your stories and your lessons across the industry, man.
Yeah,
cool. Oh, sorry.
Maybe if you are listening and you're sort of in a bit of struggle street, what I found myself doing is the struggle was usually just before a breakthrough, and getting through the plateau or getting through a challenge, whether it's a team one or a business partner or backing yourself, whatever it is. I feel like some of those tough moments were just before one of those breakthroughs. So, I want to encourage people, because I think there's a lot of tired accounting firm owners at the moment, and I guess you've got the control in your hands, what I'm keen to do is absolutely share what's worked for us and the systems, tools, and things we've done. And also equally what hasn't worked. Oh my goodness, there's probably more of that than what has worked. But I think that there's value in that of sort of saving people from making the similar mistakes that we might have made along the years.
And I guess if anything, it's also about kind of looking for, sometimes when we do stuff, we look for a little bit of validation or appreciation. And I think as accountants generally, we're just super underappreciated. It's like I think I read it somewhere, the accounting industry or accounting profession is undervalued or underappreciated professions in the world, because you just do things, you just get things done, and people don't understand, how you got it done. You got it done. You either kept them out of jail, made them more money, or saved them a bit of tax, whatever that is. It's just so expected. It's done. I think through our journey in Inspire, I've seen the appreciation not just for ourselves, our clients, our clients appreciating us, even our team members, even the work that we put out. We just, there's a higher level of, oh man, people appreciate us a bit more, and we love doing this. The joy starts coming out of it, and I think, if we could share some of those stories, and help you get to that point as well, cool. And even if you're a solo hero, you're just starting out, you're kind of like Benny 1.0 with the office and the printer.
Yeah,
there's some cool stuff that you can do, and the world's your oyster. And then I hope that some of the coming episodes will be able to extract even more experience out of other business owners as well. I'm excited. It's a really exciting time. Cool. I think we might kind of wrap it up very shortly here, Ben. But just to kind of wrap it up, I talked about at the start, what opportunity did you see when you started Inspire? What did you capitalize on? Now, you say, I want to lead that wave. I like that. And where you're standing now, you've kind of surfed your own wave here, and you're seeing other people kind of, doing their own thing. Where do you see some of the biggest opportunities for accountants in general over the next few years?
So yeah, the things I'm excited for is I feel like, maybe there is a bit of burnout for a lot of firms, and there's people potentially exiting the industry. The flip side of that is that means, there's more businesses than ever being created. I think there's a lot of people starting side hustles that might turn into things as a result of COVID and the Great Resignation. But I feel like, there's going to be still demand for small business accounting services, and that's probably going to grow because of the lack of supply keeping up with that. I've even heard as well that there's less people studying accounting in uni because of the fear of the robots taking the industry over and things like that. So again, I think there's pressure there, which is actually great for people who want to double down in the industry. Also, adopting cool technology, the apps that were applicable 5 years ago at an earlier stage of growth may not be relevant now. So I feel like there's some cool apps and things that, coming out and getting better every single day that, we might be able to take advantage of as accountants. And, maybe one of the other big the things we can take advantage of, and this is more in this advisory specialization space, but there's a massive shift in wealth from that baby boomers down to their next generation, their kids, and there'll be some huge opportunities for savvy accounting firms around succession planning, asset protection for the asset transfers and who ends up with it, and also estate planning. So I think there's some high level tools and strategies that we can implement if we understand how it works, and that's going to be great to to advise and help that transfer on, but also even advising that second generation. Didn't get the business off the ground, but have now got control potentially of a significant family business who need to learn how to run it well.
Yeah, really cool. Very, very cool. And I think, and some of those businesses might even be accounting firms, where, if you've worked in the intergenerational kind of accounting firm, passed on from, parent to son, daughter, it's your turn, and it's your turn to kind of decide what you want to do going forward. And it's that new wave of accountants that we're seeing now that's coming up as well, because 2014, 2013, digital marketing and accounting firms weren't in the same, sentence. Now we're seeing way more cool accountants coming up, and we're seeing people doing some really cool stuff. And why not share? Why not share some awesome stories across the industry and learn from one another and help those ones that are kind of navigating their way now, or either taking over new businesses from past business owners, or even starting out your own thing, because you kind of like you, Ben, left a firm and started your own thing. How do you stay on top of it? How do you keep up with this new wave of accountants, and how do we even make it even cooler and better? I think if there's anything that I'd have a mission for is to, this term of accountants being, pencil pushers or number crunchers, it's really changing that narrative, because we can offer so much more than that. And we just have access to it, and we just need to tell our story and be able to help our clients with that as well. So really changing that narrative. I think there's a big push for that in the coming decades. Cool, man. Hey, thank you so much for taking your time today, and everyone that's listening so far, thanks also for taking your time to listen to the stories of Ben Walker. There's going to be more of this type of episodes, but Ben will be leading the charge in that one. I'll sign up for now. But hey, Ben, before some final parting words, what would you say? Any advice that you might give to an accountant right now that's trying to navigate a new path forward for their firm? Is there any kind of parting advice that you have?
Yeah, I guess maybe the big thing to consider is make sure you spend time in your strategy. So if you're about to make a big decision, I'm not sure on where the figurative person is at the stage of growth, but at any point, I think Inspire 1.0, 2, 3, 4, I think the key is to spend time and invest in yourself to make sure you're making the most wise and educated decision that you can about where you're going to take it, and especially what to do first. So what to prioritize in the next level or the next stage of your business.
Great.
By the way, massive thank you to you for reviewing me.
That's all good. I always find a lot of pleasure and fun doing this. Always learning new things as well, even though I've known you for years, Ben. So thank you so much. And hopefully we catch up on the next podcast. And if you guys are listening, subscribe and follow us. Thanks again, Ben.
Thank you. Bye.